They said to me, "No one wants a poor person here, and if you're going to be a burden, quit before you cause trouble." I fled the restaurant because I simply could not stand it any longer. They'll probably be upset that I departed the welcoming party after only 10 minutes when I report to work on Monday. What ought I to do? I doubt I'll be able to continue working at that bank. My granddaughter had long dreamed of working for a big bank, and now she has it. It was a fantastic portion. However, after she was assigned to her branch, Kevin, the branch manager, began mistreating her. She had been holding everything inside, but she eventually lost it during the welcome party. After only 10 minutes at the party, she left and went straight home. She was crying uncontrollably, and I was unable to control my rage. I took up the phone right away. "Hi, Mr. Evans. We're transferring the $5 billion deal funds to a new bank." 90% of the issue was resolved by that call alone. The remaining 10% needs to be addressed now. Edward Brown is my name. My age is 77. My son, his spouse, and their daughter, Bella, reside with me. We're all four in one house. Bella is ready to begin her life as a working adult after graduating from college. Many people have anxiety before entering the workforce, but Bella never gave me any indication of that. Perhaps this is because she was hired by the big bank she had always wanted to work for in the branch she asked for, and it's close enough for her to commute from home. Everything appeared to be proceeding exactly as she had anticipated. However, that was only after she was offered a job. It had been a challenging path up to that point, and I worried a lot. While she was looking for a job, "Come on now, don't be so down. You do realize that the actual hiring process hasn't even begun yet. Summer and winter recruitment rounds are still scheduled, aren't they?" "Well, yeah, but..." "And you could always look into jobs outside of banking." "Not at all. I'd really like to work in a bank." Bella had a bad start to her job search. She was upset with the findings since she was unable to demonstrate her full ability. An internship at a bank was her first try, and it resulted in early recruiting screenings. However, it just served to highlight the difficulties of adulthood and job searching. She wanted a job at a bank, but a good bank. The threshold was high because her top pick was a huge one. The majority of the other interns came from prestigious colleges. Although I don't want to overemphasize academic credentials, being accepted into a prestigious university indicates that you possess the necessary abilities. In their eyes, Bella was mediocre. She claimed that throughout the internship, she could truly feel how her skills differed from those of the other students. Because of this, she realized how difficult it was to get a job at a bank. She felt as though she had unintentionally broken a $100,000 vase when she was rejected. She continued to pursue her goal of working in a bank, nevertheless. That got me thinking, why deliberately choose such a difficult path? Why are you so determined to work at a bank? I questioned her. Probably because of my dad. Her answer made me tilt my head slightly. She said it was because of her father. "But my son isn't a banker. He's just a regular office worker now." But as I listened more closely, I realized she wasn't talking about who he is now. She was talking about who he used to be. My son used to run his own company, but the business started to struggle and eventually went bankrupt. That doesn't mean he just stood by and let it happen. He worked hard to turn things around. During that time, the bank loan officer really went out of their way to help, offering advice on additional loans and working with him to revise the repayment plan on what he still owed. Bella had heard that story from him. In the end, the company did go under, but my son seemed satisfied, saying he had done everything he could. Seeing him like that made Bella feel, I want to help people who are doing their best. It was around that time that my son and his family moved in with me. After the business failed, my son came back home with his wife and daughter. Originally, when a company goes bankrupt, its debts are wiped out. However, my son had signed on as a guarantor when he applied for additional loans. Because of that, even after the company was dissolved, the debt remained with him personally. Fortunately, the amount he owed was manageable, so he decided not to declare bankruptcy. That was fine, but since he still had to repay those loans, life became increasingly difficult. He eventually came to me for help. I had absolutely no intention of giving him any money, but I thought, if it's just living together, that should be fine. So I decided to let my son and his family move in. Before we started living together, I made it very clear to him that he was not to rely on me. I don't take any rent from my son. In return, he and his wife help out with things around the house. Given my age and having lost my wife, I think it's a fair arrangement. Besides, getting to live with my granddaughter Bella is an incredible blessing. Not long after we began living together, Bella started job hunting, but stumbled right out of the gate. I've lived a long life, and I've gained a lot of experience, so I figured I could offer her some helpful tips about job hunting. But since I told my son not to rely on me, Bella must have thought I shouldn't depend on Grandpa either. She never asked me for advice. In truth, I wanted to teach her all sorts of things: what HR looks for in interviews, the current state of the finance industry, but I held back, swallowing the words that always came to the tip of my tongue. A few months after she failed the early recruitment round, the summer hiring season at banks began. I couldn't stop wondering how she was doing. And like a manager checking on a subordinate, I constantly asked her about her job hunt. Bella, you submitted your entry sheet, right? Do you think you'll pass the screening? Will you get an interview? You already asked me that this morning, didn't you? I haven't heard anything yet. If they do, contact me. It'll probably be next week or the week after. Right. That sounds about right. Come on, Grandpa. You're worrying way too much. At this point, I don't even know who's the one actually job hunting. She often laughed at me for asking the same questions over and over. But no matter how much she laughed or sighed, I couldn't stop worrying about her job search. Like she said, it really was hard to tell who was more anxious, her or me. While I waited for news from the bank, I felt like my heart was being squeezed tight, as if what little time I had left was ticking away even faster. About a week after enduring that heavy feeling in my chest, Bella finally got a message from the bank. Grandpa, I passed the document screening. The interview's next week. Oh, that's great. That's really great. I've been worried this whole time, wondering how it would all turn out. It's just the document screening. It's not like I got the job yet. No. Document screening is where they have the most applicants. Sometimes they don't even read your application properly and reject you right away. Unlike interviews, you can't really prepare for that stage, so luck plays a big part. You got through that toughest first step. That's definitely worth celebrating. Well, when you put it that way. Next is the group interview. I'll do my best. Honestly, I was probably happier than Bella that she passed the screening. Seeing me like that made her laugh, and I felt relieved, thinking she hadn't been crushed mentally by the pressure of job hunting. But the following week, Bella once again looked completely defeated. There's still winter recruitment, right? Just give it your best next time. Yeah, but that winter hiring might be my last chance. If I fail that too, by the time the final rounds come around, some students already have offers, so the competition gets a little easier. You have to stay positive and take action. Otherwise, you won't make it in the real world. Okay, if you say so, Grandpa, I'll believe you. If you look like you lack confidence, they'll eliminate you right away. Learn from what happened in the early and summer rounds and get ready for winter. All right, I will. Anyone would feel discouraged after getting bad news. But if it's something you truly want, just a little bit of help can get you back on your feet. Bella clearly wanted to work at a bank with all her heart. She quickly regained her energy and began preparing early for the winter recruitment. After a few more months, the winter hiring season finally began. This might be her last chance to go through new graduate hiring. If she doesn't make it this time, the standards might get even tougher. Just thinking that made my heart tighten once again. But thanks to all the preparation she'd done since summer, Bella began passing each round of the selection process like her previous struggles had never happened. It seems there were fewer applicants for the winter recruitment, so there was one less interview compared to the summer round. Grandpa, the next one's the final interview. Really? That's fantastic. Final interviews are more like a formality to confirm your intent, right? Can I start thinking of it as an unofficial offer? That's true in some cases, but some companies still conduct a proper interview. So don't let your guard down just yet. Got it. If you say so, Grandpa, then I'll make sure to stay focused until the end. The following week, Bella went to her final interview. When she came home, she looked clearly anxious. I wonder if I did okay. The questions were no different from before, and the whole interview ended pretty quickly. Do you think maybe they already decided to hire someone else and just held a token interview for me? That kind of thing happens, right? I can't say it never happens, but maybe, like you said before, it really was just an interview to confirm your intention. Hey, how long does it usually take to hear back from a final interview? Will it be next week? Again, no. If they're going to hire you, the call should come quickly. They don't want to risk losing you to another company. That's especially true in winter recruitment when students are more desperate to secure offers. Your interview was in the afternoon, right? Then they probably discuss the results afterward, and you'll likely hear from them tomorrow. If it's good news, expect a call in the morning. Okay, then I'll keep an eye on my phone tomorrow morning so I don't miss the call. The next day, Bella went to campus. I'm going to spend the morning in an empty classroom, doing nothing but staring at my phone. I looked at the clock every 10 minutes, or at least I thought I was. But whenever I checked, only 5 minutes had passed. Time kept crawling forward. By now, it was already 10 a.m. If they had made a decision the day before, it wouldn't be strange to receive a call around this time. It felt like my heart was being squeezed tightly. Another hour passed, and just as I began to think maybe it didn't work out, my phone rang. Grandpa, I got the job. When I heard the news from Bella, all the tension drained from my body. At the same time, it felt like the tight grip on my heart had finally let go. Bella had landed a job at the major bank she had always dreamed of. Getting the offer had been tough, but everything went smoothly after that. She said the training for new hires was fun, and during her placement interview, she got her wish and was assigned to a branch she could commute to from home. Now all that's left is to wait for her first day. I'm sure she's the most motivated of all the new hires. With that kind of mindset, I figured she'd have no trouble once the job actually started. That's what I thought, until her mood started to shift after she officially joined the bank. Hi, Bella. How was your first day at work? What do you think? It's the first day? I didn't do anything special. I just got introduced to everyone and was shown around the branch. Still, things like how's the atmosphere? Or watch out for that senior employee. Stuff like that must have stood out, right? You can't figure out the workplace environment or relationships in just one day. I mean, it seemed fine, but still, did something happen? There's this guy who got placed at the same branch through new graduate hiring. He went to a really good university, has great communication skills, and just seems so capable. When I stand next to him, I can't help but feel insecure. Well, sure, people from top schools tend to have strong basic skills, but that doesn't always mean they'll perform well at work. Don't let it bother you. Just do your best, Bella. You're right. I should just focus on doing my best in my own way. The new hires, including Bella, spent some time under headquarters management for training before being assigned to their respective branches. Today was Bella's first day reporting to the branch where she'll be working. Telling someone don't worry is easier said than done. When Bella got home, I immediately asked her how her day went. Her answer leaned a little toward the negative. It seemed like she couldn't really grasp the workplace atmosphere and was already feeling inferior to her colleague. But considering she had just started her career, feeling a little negative was only natural, I thought. She's finally doing the job she's always dreamed of. Once she gets used to the environment, those feelings will go away. But contrary to my expectations, Bella's mood kept getting darker. I'm home. Oh, Grandpa, you're home. Looks like I got home later than you today. You look tired. Is it because there's so much to learn at work and it's physically exhausting? Or is it the unfamiliar environment that's wearing on you mentally? Maybe both, but I'll be fine. Everyone feels like this when they start working, right? I just have to hang in there until I get used to it. Are you really okay? I'm fine. You're such a worrier, Grandpa. Bella smiled as she headed to her room. I could tell her smile was forced. She was probably finding the job much harder than she'd expected. But just like she said, it's something everyone goes through when they start working. It's a path she has to overcome on her own, so I decided to simply keep an eye on her for now. I'm home. Huh? Where's Bella? A few days later, I came home to find Bella shut in her room. Work must have been really tough, because as soon as my granddaughter got home, she told us, I don't want any dinner, and went straight to her room. It's not uncommon for new employees to stumble right after starting work and have trouble getting back up. Thinking she finally got into the bank she worked so hard for. If this keeps up, she's going to break. I decided to try talking to her. Oh, Grandpa. As I walked toward her room, She came out carrying a bath towel in her loungewear. It seemed I had run into her just as she was about to head to the bath. Her expression looked somewhat gloomy. I heard you don't have much of an appetite. Are you okay? I'm fine. Just a little tired. But I have tomorrow and the day after off, so I'll get some good rest. You're not pushing yourself too hard, are you? If something's wrong, you can talk to me. What do you mean, something? I told you I'm fine. Honestly, Grandpa, you worry too much. She gave me another forced smile and walked toward the bath. It was clear she still didn't intend to talk to me. She was probably applying the same "don't rely on me" rule I had set for my son to herself, thinking she wasn't allowed to depend on me either. Her typical hard-working and serious personality seemed to be working against her. Trying to force a conversation out of her would only backfire. If I pushed too hard, she'd probably just keep saying, "I'm fine," thinking she had to solve things on her own or that I was worried for no reason. Timing was going to be key if I wanted to hear what was really going on. So I decided to wait for the right moment to talk to her. But I later came to regret taking such a relaxed approach. "Welcome home." "Ah, thanks. Already heading to your room?" "Yeah. I want to review what I learned today and take some notes. There's still so much to remember." Bella forced a tight smile and headed to her room. Her energy seemed to be fading more and more each day. It was like watching a candle burn down, the flame growing weaker and weaker, about to go out at any moment. Still, I saw a glimmer of hope for her recovery. "Bella, the welcome party's tomorrow, right?" "Yeah. After work tomorrow, they're having a welcome party for me and another new hire at a pub. You'll probably get a chance to talk with people you haven't really spoken to yet, so try to chat with as many as you can, okay?" "I will." About 2 weeks after Bella was assigned to the branch, they decided to hold a welcome party for the new hires. Since she had only just started working, she probably hadn't interacted with many people at the office yet. There were likely even some she hadn't spoken to at all. If she could find someone trustworthy among them and start opening up, it might improve her situation. I had a small hope riding on that welcome party. And if things didn't get better even after the party, then I was ready to step in as the overly involved grandpa, push a little if I had to, and give her some advice on how to handle work. However, that welcome party ended up delivering the final blow to my granddaughter. "Have a good day. Do your best today." "Grandpa, you're staying home today?" "Well, I'm getting older. I've decided to cut back a little." "I see. You really should just retire already. Anyway, I'm off." I watched Bella leave for work, covering my worried expression with a smile as I saw her off at the door. Once she stepped out, I sank heavily into the living room sofa. I hope the welcome party leads to some kind of positive change for her, I thought. And with that, I felt a tight squeeze in my chest. By the time afternoon came around, I found myself glancing at the clock more and more. She's still at work. Before I knew it, I was checking the time every 10 minutes. 6:30. The welcome party should be starting around now. As the evening progressed, every glance at the clock had me wondering things like, she must be finishing work around now. Or, they're probably gathering at the restaurant. It's past 7:30 now. The welcome party's probably turned into just another drinking session by this point, and they've forgotten all about the new hires. I kept imagining what the atmosphere at the party might be like, but none of those thoughts could have been more wrong. Suddenly, I heard the front door unlock, followed by the sound of someone rushing down the hallway. The footsteps headed straight for Bella's room. Huh, wasn't tonight the welcome party? It's only a little past 7:30. Her commute is about an hour, and the party was supposed to start at 6:30. Does that mean she came home after just 10 minutes? Was it canceled? As I listened to the heavy footsteps, all sorts of questions flooded my mind. Something must have happened. I decided to go check on her. "Hey, are you all right? What happened?" When I reached her room, I realized for certain that something was terribly wrong. I could hear crying coming from her room. It was so loud it passed right through the door without any effort. This wasn't the time to worry about whether it was the right moment to talk, or whether she'd be upset if I entered. "I'm coming in." Without waiting for her permission, I opened the door and stepped inside. Bella was sitting on the floor, leaning against the bed, sobbing uncontrollably. Tears streamed down her face, and she kept wiping them away with both hands over and over. I slowly walked over and sat in front of her. "What happened at work?" "For the past 2 weeks, since I was assigned to the branch, they haven't let me do any real work. What do you mean? The guy who was assigned to the branch with me, he had a senior assigned to him and was being taught all sorts of things. But me? I was made to stand at the entrance all day long. All I did was greet customers with a welcome. That was my only job. Some days, I'd spend the entire shift just saying welcome. And if I said anything else, it was something like, please, proceed to window number 3 foot, or please take a number and wait. That's it. Why would they do that? Didn't you have a mentor or senior assigned to help you? I did. There was someone. Then you should have told them, please teach me too. Of course I did. But they said that's the branch manager Kevin's instruction. What? Why would the branch manager give an order like that? When I asked Kevin, he said, I can't entrust financial work to someone from a family that went bankrupt and is buried in debt. And if you're the child of someone who let a company fail, you must be just as incompetent. And if you cause trouble, it'll be a problem. So just stand at the entrance and act like a greeting robot. That's what he told me. I can't believe he said that. No matter how many times I begged, Kevin wouldn't assign me any other work besides being the greeting robot. So that's why you've been getting more and more down. I kept telling myself I can't rely on Grandpa and tried to tough it out. But I hit my limit at the welcome party. What happened at the welcome party? At first, we were introduced in front of everyone. But for the other new hire, they talked about his university, how he'd been doing these past 2 weeks, all kinds of things. But for me, they just said my name and that was it. Then, when the food came out, Kevin scooped up the lettuce under the fried chicken, the parsley from the fries, and all the little side vegetables onto a small plate and said, this is for you. Eat this. Why would he do something like that? He said, you come from a poor family, right? You probably haven't had a proper meal in your life. If you suddenly ate something like this, your stomach would be shocked. So I've prepared your food for you. That's what Kevin said. How could anyone say something so cruel? He told me, no one wants a poor person here. And if you're going to cause trouble, quit before you do. And I just couldn't take it anymore. I ran out of the restaurant. I'm sure when I go to work next week, they'll complain that I left the welcome party just 10 minutes in. What should I do? I don't think I can keep working at that bank. As she talked, Bella seemed to calm down a little, and her tears stopped. But then, as she recalled what happened at the party and everything leading up to it, she began to cry again. Seeing her like that filled me with anger, not just toward Kevin and his outrageous behavior, but also toward myself. Why had I waited so long, thinking I needed the right timing to talk to her? If this was how things were going to turn out, I should have pushed her to open up much earlier. Determined to resolve this immediately, I took out my phone and made a call. Hello, Mr. Evans. About that $5 billion account. We're moving those funds to a different bank. Bella looked at me with a guilty expression. She probably felt bad for breaking the unspoken rule of not relying on Grandpa. But that rule was something I had set for her parents, not for her. Bella had chosen to follow it on her own all this time. And now that she had finally reached out for help, of course I would help her. I finished the call after making my point. That alone should resolve about 90% of the issue. About an hour later, the doorbell rang. It was just before 9 p.m. Since it was someone here to see me, I went to answer it. I deeply, sincerely apologize. When I opened the door, a man was already bowing his head low. I had a pretty good idea who it was, but I decided to confirm anyway. You must be Kevin. My granddaughter seems to be in your care. No, I mean. Though Kevin had come charging over to apologize, he couldn't seem to form his next sentence. I figured I'd need to guide the conversation for him. Did they tell you who I am? Yes. Someone from headquarters called me. You're Edward Brown, Bella's grandfather. The chairman of a holding company involved in energy, real estate, restaurants, retail, and entertainment. That's correct. Anything else they told you? Our bank recently created a new investment fund to improve our asset management capabilities. The goal is to raise $5 billion. And your company has already entrusted several $100 million to that fund, right? Technically, it's company money. When that fund was established, your people approached us. We planned to use it as one tool for managing employee pensions, asset building, and capital procurement. But now that I know someone like you is working at that bank, I no longer feel I can trust it. So, I've decided to move the funds elsewhere. I've known Mr. Evans for many years. Of course, Neither of us started out in high positions. Back then, my company was smaller, and he was just a branch manager. He worked his way up, assistant manager, then into a head office role, rising rapidly through the ranks. And whenever I had financial concerns, I always turned to him. Our relationship goes all the way back to his time at the branch. So we've stayed in touch ever since. This recent investment opportunity, though, was something he approached me about. He asked me personally, "We've just set up a new investment fund. Could you place as much capital into it as possible?" Because it was brand new, most investors were hesitant in taking a wait-and-see approach. By having our company make a large investment, the word would spread. A major company is investing. They've put in hundreds of millions. And that would encourage other businesses and investors to start paying attention. That was the strategy. Since I owed them for all the support I'd received over the years, I decided to go ahead with the investment. But after what happened with Kevin, I decided to withdraw all of it. Once we pull out, people will start saying, "A major company just backed out," or "hundreds of millions disappeared from the fund overnight." That kind of negative buzz could scare others off, or even lead them to withdraw too. And if that happens, the man who caused us to pull out, Kevin, might end up facing serious consequences. That's why, after receiving a call from headquarters, Kevin had rushed out of the welcome party and come straight to my house. "You looked into Bella's parents, but didn't bother checking up on her grandfather, did you? What did you think? Just because her father failed at running a company, the rest of us were nothing special? Or did you assume I was just another retired old man coasting through my golden years because I'm in my 70s? Sorry to disappoint you. I may have cut back on how often I go to the office, but I'm still the chairman and very much active. Why? Why didn't you say anything about who you were?" Bella never mentioned a word about it. That's because Bella was trying to honor the "don't rely on grandpa" rule. If she told people who I was, their attitude toward her would have changed, and she probably thought that counted as relying on me. That's why she kept it to herself. And if she was deliberately keeping that a secret, there's no way I was going to say something like, "My granddaughter's applying, so please look after her." I hadn't even told her that I had ties to her bank. No way. The president of the bank I got a job at just happens to know my grandfather? What are the odds? Is it really that shocking? I mean, not to sound full of myself, but our company's a decent size. It's only natural for us to rely on a major bank we can trust, and there are only a handful of major banks in Japan. On top of that, your goal was always to work at one of them. When you think about it, it's not all that unlikely. If there's a coincidence here, it's that you happened to choose banking in the first place. I sincerely apologize for how I treated your granddaughter. So please, is there any way you might reconsider withdrawing the money? Oh, so you're apologizing now? You really think that's all it'll take? You made my granddaughter cry. Now it's your turn. I'm moving the money to another bank. That's final. Please, there must be something. I'm moving the money. That's final. I beg you. I'm moving the money. That's final. I decided to become a robot who only repeats the same line after realizing that no matter what he said, the answer wouldn't change. Kevin gave up on trying to persuade me and staggered away like a drunk. As I turned around after locking the front door, I saw Bella standing there. "The bank will handle the rest from here. I'm sorry I relied on you, Grandpa." "What are you talking about? You're my granddaughter. It's only natural for you to rely on me. In fact, I want you to. That makes me happy." When I smiled, she gave me a small, apologetic smile in return. After that, Kevin was formally demoted for his inappropriate conduct toward Bella. According to the bank's internal investigation, he had been trying to force her to quit. It turned out Kevin had only recently become a branch manager. Once in that position, he apparently started dreaming of bigger promotions. And his idea for achieving that? Push out anyone he thought had lower academic or professional ability. He believed that if only high performers were left, the branch would produce better results. That's why Bella, who hadn't gone to a top-tier university and whose father had once gone bankrupt, became one of his targets. Of course, he couldn't just fire someone without cause. So instead, he treated them so poorly, they'd feel forced to quit on their own. Bella wasn't the only victim. Kevin had treated several other employees the same way he treated my granddaughter, trying to drive them out of the bank as well. Others had sensed what was going on But because it was Kevin, they were afraid they might become targets themselves, so they couldn't speak up. After my granddaughter's case became public and Kevin was officially demoted, the other victims began to speak up, saying things like, "I was treated the same way," or "I saw it happen with my own eyes." Faced with this, the bank began considering further disciplinary action. But perhaps sensing that any additional punishment would completely ruin him, Kevin resigned before anything more could be done. He had tried to force others out, only to end up quitting himself. The only person I had lost trust in was Kevin. Now that he was gone, I decided not to withdraw the investment after all. Bella is still working at the same branch. The "don't rely on grandpa" rule is once again in effect. She really is a serious, upright person. From what I hear, only the new branch manager knows who I really am. With Kevin gone, the entire workplace seems more energetic. Bella comes home smiling every day. Asking her about work has become part of my daily routine and my greatest joy.